Welcome to Buffalo's Healthy Communities Show. I'm Phil Haberstroh, your host from the Wellness Institute of Greater Buffalo. I'm really excited about our show today. We have a series of guests that are going to talk about the topic of civic engagement. How do we as a community, as a city, move ourselves forward? How do we build the better neighborhoods? How do we develop relationships with young people so that there's continuity to the process? And so we're going to start today talking about a project that is happening in the northwest corner of the city of Buffalo. To my far left is one of the mentors of that project, Mr. Bill Park from the Office of Strategic Planning. Bill,
hi,
welcome.
Phil. Thank you.
Bill, by profession, is a planner. What is a planner, Bill?
Well, a planner, there are graduate programs in planning throughout the country, and planners often participate in those. It's essentially working with communities and community leaders to develop strategic plans for action to improve their neighborhoods and their communities.
And that's a perfect segue. Thank you, William, because to my immediate left is Mercy Dela Cruz. Mercy, welcome. Mercy, you are involved with the project which is known as Rediscover Riverside.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Before we get into Rediscover Riverside, how about Mercy herself? Can you share a little bit about what you're doing these days in your work life?
Sure. I'm a real estate broker for Cashflow Buffalo, Inc., and I'm also a real estate investor here in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, wow. So you own a piece of the action.
Oh, definitely.
Public disclosure there. Okay. We really want to talk about Rediscover Riverside. I'm going to go back to Bill for a second here. Bill, if you wouldn't mind, can you share with the viewers a little bit of a capsule of the history of Rediscover Riverside?
Absolutely. Rediscover Riverside began in 2008. The community in Riverside, many of the community members began to become concerned about some of the things that were happening in the community. Bonnie Eshborn, who has appeared on this show previously, helped coalesce those concerns, started meeting with city government and neighborhood leaders, and created Rediscover Riverside with the support of Councilmember Joseph Golombek.
Yes.
And they created a shared vision, Phil, well, you and I were involved in that important process in June 2009. And then that effort led to others that created this draft neighborhood plan, and that was completed as a draft in July 2010. And here we are at the implementation stage, which is one of Mercy's great strengths.
So Mercy, you're going to make it all happen.
Well, I'm really excited because the plan pretty much lays everything down, and now we're going to take this plan and make it into a reality. That's one of the main goals that I intend to do this year.
Let's talk about then, you brought the group together. You've been with it since the beginning also, too, pretty much?
Correct. A little further up.
Right.
I just moved here from California in 2006, and I believe they started a little later on, and I kind of joined in a little bit.
And so we got into this, and I know, Bill, that you helped the community to get a really good concrete picture of where they were at. They had a good sense of their current realities, and then, as you mentioned, we developed a vision to think about where and how they'd like to be, and finally this plan came together. What was your sense of the process? Did it frustrate you, excite you, both?
Planning, the thing is I like things to get done right away, and planning was kind of hard because we had to piece all the things that we wanted, that the community wanted together. But now that we have it right here, it's worth the sweat and the time that we put in. And I have to give thanks to Bonnie for holding us all together in making sure that we got through this, and it's definitely worth it.
So we're on the other side of process, so to speak, though obviously the process will continue. Mercy, what do you see as some of the challenges to taking this plan and implementing it? What are a couple of key things that you think you have to, as a leader now, as the chair?
Right. Well, I think implementing it and getting our community used to the idea of, yes, we can do this. And yes, our community is going to look beautiful, better than it looks now. And it's just getting people's mentality and believing that it's going to happen. I personally have no doubt that it is going to happen. And it's just a matter of letting people see that vision.
I think that enthusiasm comes through.
Good. Because we need that. We need a lot of that to get it going and finally coming to fruition.
And I know during the course of the last year and a half, 2.5 years, there have been a number of things accomplished. I attended one of your recent community meetings, and maybe between Bill and Mercy, can you just share some of the highlights of, besides getting the plan and the vision and all those things? Bill, what are a couple things in your mind that stand out as successes to date?
Well, one of the key things was to get the lighthouse relit in Riverside Park.
Oh, yes.
The lighthouse is an iconic image of Riverside, and everybody agreed that having that lighthouse relit and refurbished was really a critical step. And so a number of community members were able to reach out to city government and their council member, and we celebrated the relighting of the lighthouse last year. And it's really wonderful to see those lights lit and that iconic image shine bright for Riverside. Other things are we're looking at partnering with an organization to redevelop a former school on Ontario Street, and that's really important because large buildings like that have a large presence in communities.
And in that case, you're working with the business community. You're bringing them into the picture.
Right.
Mercy, I know that there's something in the last couple of summers, at least certainly last summer, that it's been really fun, but it's a real community building activity. Can you share that?
I believe you're referring to the Sunset Drum Circle?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, it's exciting. We're actually on meetup.com, and we have people from all parts of Western New York joining our meetup. And what it is we pretty much gather at the park every Sunday evening, starting at 6 p.m. before the sun goes down, and we just beat to the drum. And as we beat to the drum, we watch the sun go down and experience the moment together. It's a wonderful experience, and we're trying to start that up again this spring. With hopes.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Right.
We don't want anybody going there on a cold winter night.
No. Definitely not me.
Okay.
You will not see me there. But we're also trying to get vendors out there, tarot readers, maybe even bead jewel makers. Just, put vendors out there to attract more people from outside of Riverside, and also to just come into our neighborhood and recognize that Riverside really is a beautiful neighborhood if you just give it a chance and just come visit us.
Sure. And I know that when we talk about partners in Riverside Park, recently we had some dialogue and some input from the Olmsted Park Conservancy. You want to share a little bit about some of their vision for your park and how they're involving you?
Last time we had a meeting with Olmsted Park, they were talking about the pond that they wanted to put in our at Riverside Park. They just shared with us the plan that they had so far, and I do believe they intend on joining with us again and letting us know how they're coming about with that.
And Bill, my sense of that was reestablishing some of the great work of Frederick Law Olmsted that existed historically in the park. Yes,
the Olmsted firm was critical in doing the design of Riverside Park 100 years ago, and we through our planning and through working with partners like Olmsted and the City of Buffalo and the Mayor's Office and our council member, we're able to understand those histories, and now they're going to recreate this River Rock, I believe it's called River Rock Gardens, and it's going to be sort of a pond-type bubbling brook, if you will, in the northern part of Riverside Park. And it should be a real neat attraction for people because water is exciting and people really like those amenities.
And I want to do our shameless commercial on behalf of your group. You have a website. Do you want to share that for
We do. We have a website. It's rrwny.com. And on there, you can get information with regards to our organization and our plans to beautify Riverside.
And I think that one of the key things that seems to be evident here in the Rediscover Riverside success to date and more successes to come is that you've really developed a partnership with citizens. You've got the nonprofits, I know, in the community involved, the churches and so on and so forth.
Right.
You got the business community on board, and you certainly have had support from the public sector in that direction. Mercy, as you look forward to the years that are ahead of us here and the challenges that are in front of you from a leadership role, what do you see? What is your sense of the future for Riverside?
When people ask me that, I try to hold back from exploding because I'm just so excited. I'm excited to be here in Buffalo. There's just so many things about our neighborhood that we unfortunately haven't seen for a while because we were focusing on the negative things. I see a lot of wonderful things, and I'm hoping that people would peel their eyes open to all the other wonderful things that we have here. We have a waterfront. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful sunset. So I'm really excited with regards to the future. New school,
Riverside High, new athletic field.
And School 60 in DePaul, a senior housing. We envisioned that in our plan. And believe it or not, it's coming true. And I'm just so excited.
And Bill, as a planner, certainly it's fair to say that you build on the successes, the small successes lead to, and that's how the continuity of the process works?
Absolutely. The working together and developing a shared vision and shared goals and then putting them into action is critical. And it works both ways. The city is glad to partner with organizations like the one led by Mercy, Rediscover Riverside, and then we're also asking the community to involve themselves in things that we're involved in. And one of those is the Buffalo Green Code, which is a new land use plan and zoning code for the city. That's one of our department's major initiatives right now, and we're asking the community all over Buffalo to become involved and help us develop a great land use plan and zoning code for the future in Buffalo.
Super. Well, I want to thank you, Mercy, for being with us today. Much success. Bill, is always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And again, we're going to put up that website for you so that if you want to know more about Rediscover Riverside, you can go to the site, you can contact Mercy and get involved if you live in that community, or even if you're a community outside of that, you'd like to learn a little bit more about Rediscover Riverside. I'm sure Bill Park would be happy to share that. We're going to be back in a few minutes with a guest who has dedicated her life to the last couple of years of youth engagement, getting our young people in our communities involved. So please come back and join us and meet Sarah Emhoff, who is with the Close-Up Foundation here in Buffalo. Thank you.
Weight loss, it's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.
Welcome back to Buffalo's Healthy Communities Show. I'm Phil Haberstroh, your host. One of the things we talked about earlier in the show was the importance of community engagement, but one of the areas that's most challenging but most important is youth engagement. And to my left today is Sarah Emhoff. Sarah, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Sarah's expertise is in youth engagement. Sarah, why youth? Why do we need them involved?
Well, every community, youth are the future of the community, and especially in a community like Buffalo where we're going through a rebirth. A lot of the visions that we're going through are going to take time, and they may take 10 years, even 20. And our youth are going to be the taxpayers and the employees and the employers, so they should have a voice.
There's an organization that you now are working for. It's Washington, D.C. based, but you're here in Buffalo and Western New York. It's called the Close-Up Foundation.
That's right.
Can you tell us about that and connect that to youth involvement?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the Close-Up Foundation, actually, I was fortunate to start working for the foundation in 2002, right after the 9/11 attacks, actually, when all of us were thinking about what we could do to serve our country. And the Close-Up Foundation's mission is to educate and inspire young people to be active citizens. And was working for them for a number of years down in Washington, D.C., and returned to Buffalo about a little over 3 years ago, and was working in some youth engagement here. And I'm very excited to return back to the mission and bring the programs here to local students and their teachers in this community, and be able to live here in Buffalo. So
you got the
quite a
best of
prize.
both worlds. This
Yeah.
is what you love to do,
Yeah.
and you found a national organization that allows you to do it. If I'm correct, I think you were sharing with me off the camera that you're actually the coordinator for the whole Northeast.
Yes, I am, which is
A
just
challenge.
so, well, it's challenging, but it's so inspiring to meet teachers. We work primarily with social studies teachers, but to meet teachers all over who are really committed to giving their students the opportunity to walk the halls of Congress and meet their senators and representatives and meet young people from all across this country and learn about our country by talking. And let's talk gun control. One student's from rural Nebraska, another student is from urban Boston. That's a very different
Right.
conversation.
Right.
And it's a very inspiring position, and I work with a lot of great teachers.
Let's dissect that mission a little bit and relate it to some of the work you're doing here in Buffalo. You're talking about educating young people on how to get involved. Go into that a little detail for us.
Yeah, we're very committed. We are a nonpartisan, nonprofit education organization, and we are committed to giving students an opportunity to learn about government close up, to walk in and see how a bill becomes a law, to get into discussions of current policy. The students will travel to Washington with their teachers, and really will walk them through a whole curriculum throughout the week, which is in some ways kind of like citizenship boot camp. You know, they come out of the week very inspired and really with a true understanding of how this process works, how complex it can be, but also what's the role of the citizen's voice in these issues. To take it a step further, some of our schools actually offer a close-up class, which is kind of our ideal model. We have a current issues publication, which is a great chapter-by-chapter book of international and domestic issues. And so these students are actually taking usually a half-credit class throughout the year where they're learning and discussing policy issues. And the culmination, they're traveling to Washington and talking about these issues with Congress. So it's a great model of education for learning how to be a citizen.
But it sounds like one of the key players, and I hope out in our viewing audience today there'll be some teachers. Is that a way to look? They're a champion. We need to have a teacher.
Yeah, close-up teachers are phenomenal, and they're those teachers who see the value in this. And with our program, we see teachers as the integral part of our mission. And we actually run a teacher program. So while the students are working with our close-up faculty, the teachers work with our teacher faculty, and they have an opportunity to meet with policymakers, members of the media, and really get inspired and take resources back to the classroom. So those teachers we find come back year after year after year.
Right.
We're in our 40th anniversary this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we
Great.
have teachers that have been doing the program for 30 years.
How are we doing in Western New York? Are there close-up schools here, close-up teachers?
Yeah, we're starting this year.
Thanks to you,
Yeah, it's very exciting to bring such a phenomenal program to our students, and so we're starting this year. Over the years, we've had a few, but we're generally kind of a grassroots organization. So when a teacher uses the program and finds it to be so valuable, they convince another teacher to get involved. So that's what's going on here. We do have a strong cluster of schools down in the Genesee Valley area who have been coming for about 30 years.
Wow.
So my vision really is, let's start building that here in our Western New York community, and in another 10 years, some of the students that go on close-up may very well be, in office or, being major players in our community, which is exactly how the process has worked in some of our other communities.
The thought that I have is, in today's challenging economic times, is the soundbite, I guess. please share with our viewers, how does a school get involved? You know, I know they'll put up on the screen your email and, and the website, but how does a school get involved, and what are some of the creative ways they've raised the funds, because there's cost obviously for this to do that?
Yeah, well, it depends on each school, and gosh, I am very sensitive to what's going on with the New York State education system right now. All schools are making tough choices. So generally with our school, there's a teacher who really believes in what we're doing. We partner with that teacher to walk them through the channels of making sure their principal is on board, if the school board wants to be involved. And generally we work with that school to determine what kind of help they need. In some of our schools, the school board does help to subsidize some of the program, and then the students will have a certain amount that they contribute to the program, and our teachers do generally. We help them with fundraising, and the way we look at it is the students should really be engaged in that process, and reaching out to the local politicians and community members. A lot of our schools have been very successful in securing scholarships year after year after year, because they see young people come back with a real dedication to being an active citizen, and local organizations, Rotaries, Kiwanis Club, Lions Club, have often been big supporters of us all around the country. So we work with the teacher, kind of teach them what they need to do and how we can help. We also do provide some financial aid for students with financial needs. We are partnered with Congress, so we get some funding from them.
So we get a school to contact you here in Western New York, and does it have to be a school? Could a Boys and Girls Club, a YMCA? Could it be?
That's a good question. We generally work with schools, but however, we have increasingly worked with youth organizations who want to provide this type of leadership opportunity for their young people.
Okay, so they contact you, they decide they want to do this. Is it whenever they want to go, or is there a set time of the year, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, we run programs from about November through June, and so there's a lot of options. We run a middle school program and a high school program, and we also run programs specifically for immigrant students who have only been in the country for just a few years. But we also have run some in the summer. So we work with the school, give them options as to what works, being sensitive to when testing is and exams. You know, that's important, so we want to make sure that they can go without having any issues with that.
And so the students go down and the faculty goes down, and obviously there's an exposure probably for most of them that may be the first time, and et cetera, though once they get into doing it on an annual basis, it probably strengthens itself. But what are some of the maybe success stories that you can share, either for a teacher or for a school or a student, that show the value of this program?
Sure. Well, it comes in a few different ways. I mean, investing in civic engagement, as you know, is a great investment. Research shows that young people who are civically engaged do better in school, have better health, and that goes for adults too, right?
Yes.
So, really, we're helping to build the assets of these young people. They're coming home feeling very empowered, and that their voices do matter. So, in that sense, that's a goal of ours. But in terms of actual stories and what's out there, we have a community in Connecticut who has been doing the program for a number of years, and the Republican and Democratic chairman are close-up alumni. They went through the program through the same high school, and now they are, running the local community. They also just had another young man win for state assembly. So this is an opportunity for to develop that future political leadership. And I attend a lot of parent meetings, and our parents at these meetings will say, "I went on this program in high school, and I still keep in touch with the roommates I had from Arizona, and I want my child to have this experience." This is something that they need to do before they graduate from high school, is understand our government and really be interested in what's going on.
And even in a sense, I think, I know you and I have talked about this over the years, one of the things I see is not just understanding our government, which is important, but our governance, our responsibilities as citizens. I mean, we have so many freedoms in this nation, but they do come with a responsibility to get involved in our communities. How about the young people themselves? anything that you've learned in your, you've been at it for a number of years now. So what is your feeling for our young people, particularly in our Buffalo community?
Yeah. I think that young people are a big answer to what's going on right now. This generation specifically, to talk about these millennials, are very open to getting involved in the community. They've grown up with community service as part of their graduation requirements. And research shows when given opportunities to take an active role, young people take them on. However, they're a creative generation and they want to be engaged at a very high level. And sometimes we as adults don't quite know how to offer that. So that's what I really enjoy about Close Up is we really let students know your voice matters now. It doesn't matter in 10 years, it matters now. So how can we help you, really experiment and play with democracy and understand it so that you really can be a trained citizen when you walk out.
Be a good citizen.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I want to thank Sarah Emhoff. She's here today with us. She works for Close Up, which is a national foundation which works to help educate and inspire our young people across the country, but certainly we want them here in Buffalo to do so. Again, I'll be sure that you get Sarah's website is www.closeup, all one word, .org, and we'll get her email address back up there for you again. We've got a lot of good things happening in our city these days. Clearly our young people are part of that solution, so we look forward to more successes for Sarah and her group, and we thank you for tuning in today. Have a great day.